What we are talking about today, we are talking about delivery. What I am going to begin with is the principles of delivery. After I've talked you through the principles of delivery, and by the way, the principles generate good test questions, so be sure you get those either written down or, pretty much written down, because they're not coming up on the slides. After that, we will talk about the 5 elements of delivery you're going to get graded on in here. Here are the principles of delivery. Principle number 1. Your delivery should be, as you're frantically getting out what you take notes on. Your delivery should be natural but larger than life. Natural but larger than life. And I will repeat here a demonstration that I did a few class meetings ago. If you come pay me a visit in my office and you want to have a conversation with me, in my office I sound about like this. This is as loud as I get when someone's in my office. My office is not that big. My pitch doesn't go as high. I don't move my mouth around as much. I don't enunciate as much. My gestures are a lot smaller. When you're talking to someone who's 2 or 3 feet away, this is how you talk. But sometimes there are people who, when they go into public speaking mode, they get mechanical and robotic because they've never learned to do it conversationally. What you're aiming to do is to be recognizably yourself, but with all the parts of it turned up big. A good mental image to capture what you're trying to do. If you and a person you were trying to have a conversation with were as far apart as I am right here and that back wall is, how much would you turn everything up? Vocal variety, facial expressions, eye contact. Equilibrium theory out of nonverbal research says we do a lot more eye contact when we're far apart because when you're close up, you can pick up on a lot of the more subtle nonverbals, but when you're far apart, eye contact keeps you interacting. If you try to have a conversation with someone 10, 15 feet away and you don't maintain eye contact with them, you're likely to miss out on how they're responding to what you say. So, all of that to say, with a crowd this size, take your natural delivery, but turn it way up. Don't let yourself get robotic, but don't be so natural that you put your audience to sleep. Principle number 2. Nothing should distract from your message. Nothing should distract from your message. Distraction bad, concentration good. Therefore, when you make changes to try to improve your delivery, make sure you don't over-improve to where the improvement becomes a distraction. Pretty commonly in class, I have people who don't enunciate enough, and so they're not making all the sounds in the words, and I give them enunciation drills. And they are very good, hardworking students, and they go out and they do the enunciation drill, and now you can hear every sound in the word. But the change that they made to their delivery is now distracting. What you're aiming for is the middle. You never want to maximize anything. I have a lot of people take this class who are really timid and they talk really quietly. So I send them away to do projection drills. And then they come in and they do that. You want to hit the middle. You don't want to maximize anything. That's principle number 2. I hope there's not a class in there because I really need to be careful about doing that. Principle number 3. Adapt, or no, it's not. That's principle 4. Principle number 3. Practice for an audience. Practice for an audience. You may have gotten the advice in the past that you can practice for your stuffed animals, practice for a mirror, draw faces on the whiteboard and practice for that. That is not a practice. That's a run-through. Now, run-throughs are useful. When you first get the draft of your speech put together, do a run-through. Run-throughs familiarize yourself with your content. You can run the stopwatch with your run-through and get an idea how long it takes. That's a productive use of your time, but it's not a practice. It's only a practice if at least one other human being gives you their undivided attention the whole time. When that other human being tells you how it went, they'll tell you about gaps in your explanation where you thought it made perfect sense, and they'll say, whoa, you started throwing out all these words and I had no idea what they meant. They will point out to you things that you do that your own brain edits out. In the latter part of class today, we're going to talk about and Let me break it to you. You and more than you think you do. And when you get the videos from the speeches you give in here, you're going to find out how much more you and than you think you do. But your practice audience will tell you. You can't tell. So always make sure you've practiced at least once for another human being. Very often, when someone gives a speech and it goes a lot worse than they expected it to, and they come to me and say, what happened? The first question I ask is, did you practice? And they get indignant and say, I practiced a ton. And I say, how many times did you practice for another human being who gave you their undivided attention? And that's when they admit, none. There's your problem. Be sure you practice for an audience. Fourth and final principle, adapt to the room. Adapt to the room. One of the shortcomings of this class is that you're going to give every speech in this room. And if this is the only instruction you ever get in public speaking, you'll adapt to this room, but you won't really have a good feel for how to adapt to smaller rooms, how to adapt to rooms with worse acoustics. Have any of you had classes in WOMAC 100? Acoustics in there are a nightmare. And if you had to speak in there, you would need to make a lot of adjustments. After college, if you've got a big presentation to make in your workplace, if you can, go and scout the room. Take a friend along with you so they can sit various places. Figure out, are there dead spots? Are there spots in the room where they won't be able to see the screen, where it'll be an obstructed view to where you can ask your audience, hey, can everybody sit in the middle? That way my slides will be visible. Scout the room and adapt. Those are the 4 principles. Now, what we are